All right, so moving on to technical abilities, and this is really probably more so what you all wanted to talk about, but I felt that it was very important to go over these other things as well. They all come together, and they all are equally as important when you're going on hunting trips like this. So when I'm talking technical abilities, I'm not just talking about understanding the animal and different tactics to hunt mule deer. There's four main things that are really important that you need to research, study, understand, and practice before you go on a backcountry hunt. And the first one is first aid and trauma care, wilderness survival, land navigation without electronics, and obviously your marksmanship skills. So if you're sitting here right now, how many people feel confident in their first aid abilities if something were to happen to them or one of their friends out in the field? Can you put on a tourniquet? Can you alleviate a serious cut? If someone gets a stick in their eye, do you know how to treat that? If someone cuts their arm on their broadhead, or if someone's bow falls apart, if someone breaks their leg, and you have to find a way to carry them out, or temporarily address the fracture, can you handle all of those situations right now? And that's something that's really important if you're going to go back 5, 6, 7+ miles and camp out for 7 days with likely no cell service. Do you have the ability to take care of yourself and the people that you're with if something were to happen? And if you can't confidently do that, if you don't know what to do if someone gets severe poison ivy, or if they break their leg, or any situation like that, and they're more common than you think, or if someone gets bit by a rattlesnake, if you're not confident you can handle that situation in the backcountry until a higher level medical personnel arrives, or you can get them to them, then that should be one of your top priorities in your learning process right now. It goes, again, all these things are going to go right back to your mental abilities. If you go out 7 miles and you're with you and 2 of your friends, and none of you know how to treat a serious injury if it were to happen, that's going to drop your confidence level in staying out there longer and longer. Same thing with wilderness survival. There's a rule of threes that I always talk about, and there's 3 things that you need for your survival, and that's obviously shelter, water, and food, in that order. And in a bad situation, you can survive 3 hours without shelter, you can survive 3 days without water, and you can survive 3 months without food. And that's exactly how you should prioritize your efforts if you were to get lost or in a bad situation out in the backcountry. Your first objective is you need to find shelter. If it's snowing, or if it's cold, or if raining, whatever, 3 hours is your clock before you can get a serious condition or even die. Same thing with water. Your next step is to find water, and then your third step is finding food. So, understanding the different things, how to make fires, how to purify water, how to find things out in the areas that you're going to be hunting, understanding what's available to you as a resource outside of what's on your back is vital. And that's another thing that's going to prevent you from going farther and harder if you're not confident in being able to camp out and stay out there, as long as you plan to. Or if something happens, if you get a hole in your tent, what are you going to do about it? Or if, your, your water purifier breaks, what's going to happen then? So wilderness survival and first aid are two of the most important things. And, it's all fine and dandy to think beforehand that you're going to be okay in these situations until you get out there and the first thing goes wrong and you start to panic about it. That's a clear sign that you're not ready to be out there, hunting for 7 days, 6-7 miles away from the nearest road with no cell service. So, whether you think you're confident or not, everybody always needs to take a hard look at what their skill level is when it comes to this, because, this is one of the top reasons how people don't come back, because they go out there and they think they know more than they actually do. They get themselves into trouble. They're not confident. They panic, and then it just keeps going downhill from there. Another thing everybody should be competent in and, have in their back pocket is an understanding of land navigation and orienteering. You need to definitely understand how to figure out where you're at in an area and where you need to go. If your GPS or phone dies or, whatever it is, you should always have a map and compass and the ability to get back to where you need to get to without technology. I know, you can have a backup to a backup to a backup, but there's always that chance of unfortunate events that leads you to needing a map and compass. Personally, I like using one better than a GPS anyways. I like to rely on technology the least amount as possible. So understanding navigation, and if there's a hard interest in anybody taking deeper dives into anything we talk about, I could talk about, specific things for specific things that were, I'm hitting this very high level. So we could get into some really good specifics if you guys have an interest in learning about navigation, what you need to know within the first aid realm, what you need to know in the wilderness survival realm, all that stuff. We can have additional webinars just on these things. So the last thing is marksmanship, and everybody likes to practice with their bow or their rifle at a flat range, in the wide open. So we have a question in the Q&A. Let me pull that up. I don't have buddies like backcountry in the Virginia mountains and train most of the year for it, but I'm no super athlete. How would you change your strategy, the distance you hike in, the type of terrain you'd hunt if you're solo? I have no issues going deep and hunting deep, but on my own, rucking that deer out. I'm just sure how much strategy change from solo hunting Wyoming, Montana. It's pretty similar. I mean, it also depends on the time of year too. So, if you're out there in September by yourself and you're elk hunting and it's going to take more than a day to pack out that elk to where you need to pack it out to, that should definitely be a consideration on how far you go in solo. Another thing too to think about is if you go out there solo, I haven't done this before, but I've considered it before. If you go out there solo, there's always guides or horse packers in the area. So doing some research before you go out there of different guides in the area and calling them up. Most of them have horses, and you could pay a small fee, and if you kill one, just send them the coordinates and they'll come with their pack mules and help you pack your animal out. That's pretty common, and a lot of guides and outfitters will do that if they have the animals available. So that's one thing to consider if you want to go farther and deeper by yourself and are concerned about packing the animal out. But you're definitely right. If you're going elk hunting, or even mule deer are pretty heavy too, and you're concerned about the meat that's definitely a consideration. As far as the other things, it goes back to your confidence again on how comfortable you are being by yourself and your understanding of the wilderness survival and first aid aspects. If you're confident that you could live out there where no matter where it is by yourself for multiple days, then that just gives you the confidence to go farther and deeper if you need to. So hopefully that answers your question. Background in hunting terrain of Nebraska for mule deer. Archery hunt planned this fall, spot and stock. Debating whether to go grassland, sand hills, or down in the Frenchman unit by Kansas. 2 guys to film the hunt. Any suggestions where to go? So I haven't actually hunted Nebraska, but I've hunted similar open country terrain. And actually these two pictures are kind of more, they're not open country like you think Nebraska, but they are it's pretty similar. Torin and I were supposed to go there this year, weren't we, Torin? But we got that canceled, unfortunately. But offline, I can show you the places that I was researching about going to Nebraska, and maybe we could set up a one-on-one or something to talk about how I came to those conclusions. So, but in any event, when we talk about mule deer tactics, there's 2 terrains that I'm familiar hunting them in, and that's open country and mountains with dark timber and aspens and all that good stuff. So your question, Gabe, was more about open country. When I'm hunting open country, it's a lot different than when I'm hunting more mountainous terrains. The type of areas where I hunt, you never get that good vantage area where you could just glass for long periods. So the end game, no matter where you're hunting mule deer or how you're hunting mule deer, is covering acreage, and that is one of 2 ways, through your eyes and through your feet. So in areas where you can't get a good vantage point, I am literally walking nonstop all day long with my binoculars, looking out as far as I can for these mule deer. And I have 2 videos actually, and you've all been staring at them for a while, so you might have already found them, but I'll play the first one on the left first. So in the chat, can anybody tell me how many mule deer are in this left picture? And can you even see any? And this is the brilliance about mule deer, is even in the most open country with no cover at all, they are very difficult to find. All right, nobody wants to guess. Torn said he's going to potentially give something away for anybody who gets these right. Right, Torn?
I got some free Onyx map hunt subscriptions if you get them right.
Okay, cool. All right, so on the left, we'll do like 10 more seconds to get your guesses in. All you have to, you could guess and get it right and get free Onyx. So, all right, 3 on the left, 1 on the right. Ooh, the one on the right is a lot easier. All right, we're gonna play the one on the left. Zoom in there, and you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 6 all together. And so these mule deer, and I'm not taking this with with the iPhone or anything. This was with my high res DSLR camera, and these mule deer were less than 100 yards away. So you could see how easily they disappeared. So on the right, let's guess how many on the right. Five for the right. This one's kind of tricky. So I'll zoom in here. And if you look, there are three. There's three, mom and two little ones. But Torn, I think one, whoever guessed one, that would be a pretty close enough guess, right?
Yeah.
Because that was kind of tricky because the other two were hidden behind a little hill there. So one thing about mule deer is when they're in the right situations, they're very difficult to see. So having a good pair of binoculars and a good spotting scope is one of the key things that I use when hunting them, whether it's open country or mountainous terrain. You know, when I'm up in the mountains, usually I find a good vantage point where I could glass a lot of acreage, and I'll sit there and break down every little area, and you're looking for ear twitches. I mean, they hide themselves really good. You're looking for ear twitches, tail flickers. You're never looking for the whole mule deer. Even in the open country, you could see this sagebrush, and they're almost the same color as this sagebrush right here. They'll bed down on a hillside in the shade behind this sagebrush, and you could spend all day staring at them, and you'll never actually see them until they move their head or something. So, having good glass and, practicing your ability of using it is important. It's not just having good glass. Okay. It's practicing with it. Like, take them out and try and find things in your daily life that are hard to find. If you're going out hiking, I always have my binoculars with me, and I'm always looking for things, because you have to get yourself adjusted to looking for these meticulous things. And I'll be honest, finding the first one is the hardest, and then as you find more, it gets easier and easier because you know what you're looking for. So that's one thing to consider. Torn had a question: do you always take a scope, and what size optics? Okay, no, I don't always take a spotting scope. It depends where I'm going. This type of open country, I usually don't take one because I can never see far enough for it to be valuable. But in mountainous terrain, yeah, definitely take one, because you're really trying to fine tune every little piece that you could see. 10 by 42 for my binoculars. That's a lot of people. That's their standard optic. The 12 powers are getting a lot more popular as well for Western hunting. My cousin uses 12s and he really likes them. But 10 by 42 is, if you want a one size fits all binocular, save up and just get one really good pair of 10 by 42s, or take Eric's advice and rent them, which that's super cool that I didn't know about. Spotting scope, I have a Swarovski 20 to 60 power, the smaller one, the 60 millimeter lens. I think they got a 60 and 80, or 65 and 80. 65 and 80. I have the 65. I picked the 65 over the 80 because I wanted something smaller and compact to fit in my pack. And I used to have a Vortex Razor 85 millimeter, and what I found is that I get the same light and a little bit better resolution through the smaller Swarovski than the Vortex, and the Vortex was like twice the weight. So that's why I switched over to that, and I can find things pretty good with that 65 millimeter 20 to 60 power.